Hello, it's nice to have you join us. You're watching Newsroom Series right here on Channels Television. I'm Ayotunde Balogun, and today our focus is on the North Central. But before we get into the stories proper, these are the top stories making the rounds in the course of the day. We start off from the Federal High Court in Abuja, which has denied bail to John Jude Agbo, who is facing terrorism and cybercrime charges over an alleged plot to attack several schools in the FCT, that's the Federal Capital Territory. Justice Joyce Abdul-Malik refused the bail application after the prosecution presented its fourth witness and formally closed its case. The judge ruled that there was no evidence to convince the court that the defendant would not abscond if granted bail. The judge then ordered that he remains in the custody of the Nigerian Correctional Service. Mr. Agbo is accused of planning attacks targeting schools, students, and teachers in the FCT. During the hearing, a Department of State Services officer testified on the investigation carried out by the agency and its operatives. The witness also presented an audio-visual recording of Agbo's interview, which was admitted as evidence and played in open court before the prosecution closed its case. The matter has been adjourned until September the 24th for the defendant to open his defense. All right, we're staying in the Federal High Court in Abuja, where Justice Mohammed Umar has warned that the defense of activist Omoyele Sowore may be foreclosed if he fails to continue presenting his case at the next adjourned date. The warning followed the absence of Mr. Sowore's legal team in court during the presumed hearing, where his lawyers were expected to call further witnesses in his defense. Although Mr. Sowore was present in court, none of his counsels appeared. He told the court that his lead lawyer, Olumide Fushika, a senior advocate of Nigeria, is in the United Kingdom with the knowledge of the court, while the lawyer standing in for him, Raphael Adakwale, is outside the jurisdiction. Mr. Sowore requested an adjournment to allow his lawyers appear and continue handling his defense. However, the prosecution opposed the request, urging the court to close the defense over repeated delays. Justice Umar granted a final adjournment until July the 22nd, giving Omoyele Sowore another opportunity to continue his defense or risk having it closed. Right in Niger State, nearly a year after the devastating flood that changed the landscape of Mokwa, the state government is moving from emergency response to long-term recovery. With an expanded multi-billionaire erosion control project now on the table, the state has opened bids for what officials describe as a major flood mitigation intervention.
The memories of the May 25 flood still linger in Mokwa, where homes, livelihoods, and critical infrastructure were swept away. Now, the Niger State Agroclimatic Resilience in the Semi-Arid Landscapes Project is advancing plans to reduce the risk of a repeat occurrence by opening bids for the reclamation and restoration of the Mokwa Gully erosion site. State Projects Coordinator Raji Shehu says investigations show that the disaster is triggered by a combination of natural factors and human activities, especially the obstruction and encroachment on natural waterways.
One clarion call is how to maintain and sustain this drainage. Because it has been our habit that whenever you have a drainage like this, people now see it as their dumping ground where they now dump their refuse. Where sensitization, engagement, community engagement is already on. And again, you also tend to have a setback where we will put a barricade so that people don't move close to the drainages. And also intends to do a bioremediation along the drainage corridor.
An earlier procurement process for the stormwater drainage component reaches the contractor selection stage in April 2025. But the devastating flood of May 29 prompts the government to suspend the contract award and undertake a fresh technical assessment to ensure the new design adequately addresses the scale of the disaster. The review significantly expands the scope of the intervention.
Let's put the hands together. Thank you very much.
The Commissioner for Climate Change explains that the original 5.7 kilometer drainage design is now extended to about 17 kilometers with wider and deeper channels to improve floodwater discharge.
Construction is not something that you do within 1 or 2 months, most especially with this kind of construction that is going through. It's almost about how many kilometers? 17 kilometers. So it's not about having it within a short time. And this has to be a very technical component that we'll be using in order to achieve this.
Beyond engineering solutions, authorities are also stepping up community engagement. The Mokwa Local Government Council inaugurates a climate change committee to educate residents, particularly those in flood-prone communities, on environmental protection, disaster preparedness, and early warning measures.
We've directed that they should organize a sensitization workshop, picking people from flood-prone areas so that they can lecture them and advise them, guide them, and that has been done. We've also reached out to the communities that were last year affected by that serious flood disaster to keep off from that same vicinity, and which they comply immediately.
Backed by $10 million in World Bank support, the project intervention delivers reinforced concrete stormwater channels designed to safely convey heavy rainfall, curb erosion, and strengthen Mokwa's resilience against future flooding.
In Plateau, the state government has reaffirmed its commitment to addressing the growing number of out-of-school children by strengthening collaboration with school-based management committees, parents, traditional rulers, and religious leaders to ensure that every school-aged child returns to the classroom. The commitment was made during an advocacy campaign organized by the Plateau State Universal Basic Education Board to highlight the role of school-based management committees in reducing the number of out-of-school children across the state. Our correspondent Percy Dabang reports.
The advocacy campaign brings together government officials, education managers, and school-based management committee members to review the challenges affecting school enrollment and develop practical strategies to improve access to basic education.
The Ministry of Education.
Plateau State Commissioner for Education, Kachalom Gang, says insecurity and other socio-economic challenges contribute to the increasing number of out-of-school children in the state.
We will have to come out with stringent rules that will encourage or force children to go back to school. We will have to work with the traditional rulers. We will have to work with the development associations. We'll have to work with the religious leaders so that together it's our collective responsibility. We make sure that our children go back to school.
Executive Chairman of the Plateau State Universal Basic Education Board, Sunday Amuna, says the out-of-school challenge is a shared responsibility, warning that children who remain outside the classroom are more vulnerable to crime and other social vices.
With the drive that we've been going on, we have been assured by September we will see an upsurge in enrollment in our public schools. So we want to seize this holiday period that is commencing from Friday till ending of August to early September to continue in this drive that come September our public schools will truly witness an upsurge and our out-of-school children will come back to our schools.
To just get prepared.
Nigeria has slightly over 18 million out-of-school children, with Plateau State recording a 23.2% of this figure. UBE coordinator of Plateau State, Esther Taylor, calls for stronger collaboration to improve enrollment.
School-based management committee can significantly reduce out-of-school children in Plateau State by bridging the gap between the local communities and the state education system. They can tackle this by leading targeted enrollment campaigns, sensitizing parents on the value of education, directly mobilizing community resources to support vulnerable learners. To effectively curb the out-of-school menace in Plateau State, highly functional SBMCs can implement several actionable strategies.
For other officials, insecurity, displacement, illegal mining, early marriage, and child labor are equally responsible for the growing number of out-of-school children.
You know, as SBMC, we are with the communities. We are there with the children. We know their parents, we know their families, and in fact, we know where most of them get to. So we've been trying our best to see that these children must have to come to school.
Stakeholders believe that with stronger synergy between the Plateau State government, communities, and school-based management committees, more children can get back to the classroom, and the state can make significant progress in reducing the number of out-of-school children. Percy Dabang, Channels Television News.
Still in Plateau State, the Director General of the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, NIPSS, Professor Ayo Omotayo, has apologized to the Gwangwam Jos, Jacob Gyang Buba, over comments he made following the recent security breach at the institute. The apology comes amid calls for calm and a thorough investigation into the incident. Seeking to mend strained relations with the host community, the NIPSS Director General, who visited the palace of the Gwangwam Jos to express regret over remarks he made during a media interview after the recent attack on the institute, said his comments were never intended to blame the Beram community or its youth.
I wish to successfully address concerns arising from my recent remarks during the media interview. I wish to state clearly and without ambiguity that it was never my intention to attribute blame to the Beram people or to cast aspersion on any community. I recognize, however, that my comments have been interpreted in ways that cause concerns and distress. For this, I offer my sincere and unreserved apologies. Your Royal Majesty, I deeply regret any unintended offense caused, and I humbly seek your understanding and that of the entire Beram nation.
Of the Beram Traditional Council, Chairman of the Beram Elders Association, Jambo Cholom, welcomed the visit, but said the council would withhold its position until ongoing investigations into the incident are concluded.
We are making a very special appeal and a very serious appeal to the Governor of Plateau State and indeed the Security Council, if need be, even at the federal level, for a thorough investigation to be carried out on the issues in NIPSS. Because saying anything at this point might either be presumptuous, might be preemptive, and may not allow the truth to come up.
When we come back after the break, Benue State government solicits support for the Hyacinth Alia transformation agenda. Join us again. Welcome back. We're in Benue now, where the state government has urged citizens to support its transformation agenda in the ongoing township and urban road construction, flood mitigation, and basic education reforms, noting that it inherited a broken economy and infrastructure, which it is now fixing. The Principal Special Assistant to Governor Hyacinth Alia on Civil Society and Strategic Engagements, Solomon Semeka, made the call during the project's briefing and inspection by appointees of the governor to showcase massive works in sectors like road, education, transportation, civil service reforms, and urban renewal.
Officials of the Benue State government gather in Makurdi, the state capital, to discuss the progress of reforms introduced by Governor Hyacinth Alia in the last 3 years. Among them are significant appointments from Vandekia local government area, where the governor hails from. At the newly dualized Ishaya Bakut Way, now renamed Senator Oluremi Tinubu Way, solar street lights have all been installed. There's also the construction of a 2.5-kilometer Idia Canal concrete cast that has permanently resolved the perennial flooding challenge in Makurdi, while 6 other roads have been completed in the area.
Within a short period, Governor Olia has delivered. He has delivered the historic high-quality underpass and flyover networks that have modernized the state city center. The multiple intra-road city networks constructed with standard drainage systems and street lights have given a rapid facelift of urban spaces that has restored the pride to Benue citizens and attracted investors.
There are 45 rural and urban road projects ongoing across the state, including projects in the education sector, like the construction of classrooms, water and sanitation projects, and perimeter fencing, which have increased enrollment.
Every project is visible, like the Ide Canal that spanned over 2-point-something kilometers, has done a lot of good to Makurdi residents. Before this time, people who live around this area, if it is raining season, both of the people who reside around there, they will all be camping for safety. But now residents are living peacefully because the canal has taken care of the flooding activities that used to, disrupt their normal life activities.
Out-of-school children are now reintegrated into our systems. They are issued with books and bags and all that will be comfortable for them. We have so much to say about this administration. We have a borehole system and we have a perimeter fence to enhance the security of the school, whereas before there was nothing like that.
The team tasks Benue residents to support the administration, which has transformed the education sector.
The intervention of His Excellency has built story buildings across Benue State Primary Education Board. Our pupils have been learning in a very conducive environment. There are perimeter fences around the schools to secure the learning atmosphere of our students. The new chalkboards are being introduced. Now they're not using what's called blackboard. They're using a pen board.
The investments in critical infrastructure across Benue State and the attention paid to civil service reforms are yielding results as residents now have better access to public services and utilities.
Kwara State is stepping up efforts to curb malaria with the launch of a statewide campaign to distribute 2 million insecticide-treated nets. The initiative targets hundreds of thousands of households and children as part of a broader strategy to reduce malaria-related illnesses and deaths.
As part of efforts to drastically reduce the scourge of malaria, especially among children and mothers, the Office of the Wife of the Kwara State Governor has commenced the distribution of 2 million insecticide nets to households across the 16 local government areas in the state. The wife of the governor, Lufalake Abdulrazak, describes malaria as one of Nigeria's greatest public health challenges, noting that more than 807,000 children under the age of 5 in Kwara depend on effective prevention. She reaffirms the state's commitment to universal health coverage and commends frontline health workers, traditional rulers, civil society organizations, local government chairmen, and their spouses, as well as development partners for supporting the initiative.
I call on all parents, caregivers, community leaders, and all residents of Kwara State to act as the shield that protects our children from malaria. This integrated campaign brings to our communities 2 proven and highly effective malaria prevention interventions. About 2 million insecticide-treated nets will be distributed free of charge across all communities in Kwara State to ensure that every household has access to this life-saving protection. Also, owning a net is only a first step. These medicines stand to provide an additional layer of protection, significantly reducing malaria infections, severe illness, hospital admissions, and deaths among young children.
The integrated campaign will distribute 2 million insecticide-treated nets. to 776,469 households, while 665,057 children under 5 years will benefit from the seasonal malaria chemo prevention program.
This integrated campaign is a strategic response towards building a resilient and sustainable system for health. The NSeries campaign seeks to achieve universal household coverage through the free distribution of quality, long-lasting nets across all 16 local government areas.
Is one of the major public health issues globally.
Meanwhile, Chairman of the Kwara State House of Assembly Committee on Health and Nutrition, Shehu Ogunuyi, pledges the legislative support of the 10th Assembly towards expanding the healthcare infrastructure and sustaining efforts to eliminate malaria in the state.
Nigeria carries one of the heaviest burden of malaria globally, which is about 30% of the prevalence. But the good news is that Kwara as a subnational is driving that and bringing the numbers down. And one of this that is creating the right incentive for that is the leadership of Governor Abdurrahman Abdurazak, who has been quite supportive of interventions like this.
Our First Lady will dance.
The campaign, supported by the Federal Ministry of Health, the National Malaria Elimination Program, and development partners, is being implemented under the theme, Driven to End Malaria, Now We Can.
As part of efforts to ensure self-sufficient and economic empowerment for veterans of the Nigerian Army during their retirement, officers and men in the North Central Zone are currently being trained in various business opportunities. The skill acquisition program, which is taking place at 22 Armored Brigade Ilori in Kwara State, will ensure serving and retired soldiers are lectured on pre-retirement planning, business plan writing, and identification of business opportunities, among others. The Chief of Defense Staff, represented by Major General Olufemi Williams, says skill acquisition is a testament of commitment of the Army leadership to ensure that officers are self-sufficient in retirement. On the spot, the Director, Veterans Affairs of the Nigerian Army, also represented, believes the training is designed to empower veterans through practical training on post-service lives.
Today marks a significant landmark in our collective journey towards repositioning our ex-servicemen and women through empowerment programs such as this. This program is a strategic initiative by the Defense Headquarters aimed at enhancing the well-being of our veterans across the 6 geopolitical zones to enable them withstand the challenges in today's economic reality.
At its core, this training is designed to empower our veterans through relevant educative, practical and theoretical training in helping to ensure a more meaningful and secure post-service life. It emphasizes the Chief of Defense Staff continued commitment to improving the standard of living for those who have served our nation.
And with that, we draw the curtain on Newsroom Series. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ayotunde Balogun.